All right, in today's video, what we're going to do is talk about ways in which organisms interact with their environment in a variety of different ways. And to do that, we're going to start off by asking a weird question. What do an airplane flying through the air, a sponge that's living in the ocean and feeding, and a plastic spoon that you are washing in your kitchen sink, what do those things all have in common? And how does that show us how organisms are interacting with the environment? I'm most interested in the sponge, being the biologist, but we're going to talk about the airplane because you're probably familiar with airplanes, and plastic spoons because you can do this at home and show, to feel how this phenomenon that we're going to talk about actually works. You can feel what's called the low pressure zone as these things are working. So the airplane, these are all connected by something called the Bernoulli Principle. So Bernoulli described this idea where as we have fluids moving over the surface of an object, it creates different zones of pressure. So what do we mean by a fluid? A fluid is just a substance that doesn't have a distinct shape or size. So we can think about it in terms of gases, like air. And so that's what we're talking about as we're thinking about the airplane. Or we can think about it in terms of a liquid, like water. So, and that's going to be important for the sponge. So if we start off with the airplane and think about how an airplane works, what happens is airplanes fly through the air because of an area of low pressure, and that's where Bernoulli comes in. As you have these fluids moving over the surface of an airplane wing, in terms of the gas, it creates areas of low pressure. So if I draw an airplane wing, we'll see if that works. And this is the front of the wing, and this is the back of the wing, so the airplane is flying in that direction. What happens is, as the airplane is moving through the air, and let's pretend that these two dots are molecules of air, as the airplane wing passes between them, these two dots, one that goes over the wing and one that goes under the wing, are going to travel at different speeds. So the one that goes under the wing is just going to kind of go in a straight line. The one that goes over the wing goes much faster because it's curved. It actually has to travel faster, and it will get to the end of the wing, the back end, faster than the other particle. And when that happens, as you have these fluids moving at different rates, it creates a low pressure zone. So low pressure here over the surface of the wing, which means it's a relatively high pressure under the surface of the wing, and that creates the lift that keeps airplanes in the air. So airplanes are really being held in the air by this low pressure that's over the wing. Okay, so what does that have to do with a sponge? Sponges live on the bottom of the ocean. So I'm going to say that's the bottom of the ocean, and I'm going to make a sponge. I'm going to draw a finger sponge, so they tend to be tall. And the way sponges work is they've got this opening at the top called an osculum, and all over the surface of the body of the sponge, they've got little holes. Sponges are filter feeders, so they're taking particles out of the water. They have specialized cells on the inside that pump the water through and catch little things that are floating in the water and use that for food. And the water then gets sucked in through all of these little holes and expelled out through that big hole at the top. So it goes in what are called the ostia, and out through the osculum. Okay, so now living in water, what happens is there's often currents in the ocean, and the farther you get off of the bottom of the ocean, typically the faster the water moves. So down here at the bottom, water is going to be moving relatively slowly. I'm just going to say water is moving this way. But because as it moves across the water, it creates friction and drag, so this water doesn't move really very fast. As you move up over the surface, away from the bottom, the water is moving faster. So just like we saw here with the airplane, you've got fast moving air versus slow moving air. Here we've got fast moving water versus slow moving water. This creates another area of low pressure over the top of the sponge. That helps the sponge feed, because instead of having to have its cells do all the pumping and move all the water is getting sucked into the sponge in part by this low pressure and pulled out. So the sponges are able to feed much more efficiently. They don't need to use as much energy to pump a really high volume of water, and it allows them to grow bigger. So that's why oftentimes you'll see certain species of sponges growing relatively tall off the surface of the bottom of the ocean. All right, so there's our airplane, there's our sponge. What does this have to do with a plastic spoon you're washing in your kitchen sink? What you do with the spoon, this is going to allow you to actually feel this low pressure. It's fine to talk about how an airplane flies. It's fine to talk about how a sponge might feed, but this is a demonstration you can do in your kitchen sink to actually feel that low pressure being exerted on the sponge, or spoon in this case. So I say plastic spoon. A metal spoon will work. It's just a lot heavier than your typical little plastic spoon. So I would say use that. And what you would do is in your kitchen sink, you've got your faucet, super exciting faucet, and the water's coming down. If you take your spoon and if you think about a spoon and how that has a curve to it, that's a terrible spoon, but whatever. If you take it so that the curved end, the convex end, touches the stream of water that's coming down, it will feel like it's being pulled in. If you do it the other way, so that you touch the actual scoop end of the spoon to the water, it pushes it, it just kind of bounces around. But you can actually take your fingers holding the top of the spoon and pull it out, and the spoon will stick to the water and you can feel that pull. So in a different video, what I'll do is take you to my kitchen sink at home and show you how that works and how you can pull it away. And you can try that at home if you've got a plastic spoon. So all of this is showing, again, how organisms can interact with their environment in sort of interesting and unexpected ways oftentimes, and how these organisms are adapted to use those interactions for increasing the frequency or efficiency of their feeding, in this case for the sponge. Okay, so I'll show you another video with the spoon in the sink, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the spoon in the sink demonstration video.